What are three of the biggest challenges that Catholic young adult women are facing today? That is what we're going to talk about today in our series that we're continuing. This Easter 2024 series, Rebuild My Church. I'm going to offer the church, us, the body of Christ, some actionable ways that we can help overcome these challenges in an effort to bring renewal from within the church. So I am Lisa Martinez, the founder of Little with Great Love, a restoration ministry of storytellers that are using media to bring hope and healing. And I'm so blessed and fortunate to be with my friend and one of our former teammates and our colleagues, Mama Six, the executive director of Given, Michelle Hillaert. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello. It's always so great to be kind of back in the home territory. So good to see you.
You too, dear. I love being with you. Michelle and I go way back we were household sisters at Franciscan. So yeah, we've known each other for decades. And I'm so grateful to hear about the work that you're doing with young adult Catholic women. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you're doing with Given?
Yes. So I am Michelle Hillaert, mom of six, married 23 years, almost 24, to the love of my life. And three kids in college. It makes me so sad. And three kids at home, which we're still, really right there with. But I'm the executive director of the Given Institute, who we're an organization that was founded by the CMSWR, which is the Council of Major Superiors of Women Religious, in 2016. So the Council of Major Superiors of Women Religious, if you don't know who they are, it's like basically the Mother Superiors and Vicar Generals of a lot of the religious orders that you know. So the Sisters of Life, the Soul Sisters, Little Sisters of the Poor. So they all came together. They were given this huge grant and they were said to do something with it. The Year of Religious Life. They were given the grant in 2015. So in 2016, they kicked off with our first Given Forum and mentoring year. So they brought in women from all over the United States, and they had this big event. It was a week-long event. We still do this. Our next one is in June, but where we really drive home the pillars of Given, which we'll talk a little bit more in this conversation, but just initially the pillars are: receive the gift you are, realize the gifts you've been given, and respond with the gift that only you can give. So they had this event and they saw tremendous success. And part of that included action plans. We're going to talk about that as well. But they saw these women go out into the world and really start making a difference. And because they're religious sisters, of course, they had money left over because, they take about poverty. So in 2018, they founded Given. And the next big Given Forum was 2019. And then it's grown into this beautiful art of accompaniment mentoring program. And we have our largest cohort, which begins already with orientation yesterday, but will also be at Catholic University of America in June of this year. It's going to be extremely exciting. We're going to have mentors and mentees and 68 religious sisters from 30 different orders. I mean, I can't wait to be surrounded, but that's the really quick down, about Given. And we do everything we do leadership development, faith formation, and one-to-one mentoring is how we just help activate the gifts of young Catholic women for the church and the world.
Oh my gosh. It's such an important mission that you have been entrusted with here. And, it just lights you up. It gives me the chills because it's so important to come alongside people. I mean, that's what we've been doing, the restoration ministry, right? Just trying to really accompany people in that, because it's easy to kind of, I think, be at a distance with people and kind of tell people, show up, give some advice, check out, whatever. We all have really busy lives, right? I mean, you have 6 children in a household, but beautiful to really dig in. And then you really start to see the fruits, right? With people as you journey with them.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely beautiful. And really what really makes Given stand out and is different from any other organization is, one, we were founded by religious sisters. So I'm like, they're all grandmamas. Like I was always telling them. But also everything we do is in conjunction with religious sisters. Like the chair of our board is a Sister of Life. And we have 5 religious sisters from 5 different communities on our board, plus a couple of consecrated religious. So it's just beautiful that you see the church coming together, lay and religious, to say, we're here for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. And I think that's really the impetus for this series that we're doing for Easter. Because Easter, right, is that we're now living in the power of the resurrection, and that God's sending his disciples forth, right? And we have Pentecost that we're
Right.
preparing for. And so if we're being sent forth and we're told to rebuild the church, it's trying to mobilize the laity alongside religious, right? Is that
Yeah.
they are called to serve. They give their lives and they make these vows. And at the same time, we're called to serve alongside. There's no way that they're going to be able to do it. We're the body of Christ. We have to
Yeah.
do it with them. We're all members of the body. So it's finding our place, right? And I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
we're going to dig into right here as we kind of talk. So I know that the women that come to you, their ages, is it 21 to 35?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So this is like an important part of their life. What are some of the struggles that you're seeing and working with these young adults?
I think the biggest struggle, and it's young adults, not just between the ages of 21 to 35, but you see it in every age, even in the older ages, that is this all out attack on identity,
Yes.
right? I'm not enough. Why am I never enough? Why am I not lovable? Why doesn't anyone see me? I feel so alone. All of these things that many of us have struggled with. I've struggled with it in my life, right? We've had these moments of, why am I never enough? But there comes a point where, when we find that healing, that we begin to see that our identity is in being a daughter of God, and to truly understand what that means, other than like that sticker of Jesus loves me, but
Yeah.
that really truly sense of Jesus truly loves me and he sees me, right? He loves us unspeakably much. And right there, like that alone is, I think, one of the core problems, the core struggles that not just we as women, but really society as a whole, but women, I think, in a special way, suffer from this.
Yeah.
The sense of not being seen, not being known. We all want to be seen and we want to be known. There's something special about that. Like when I see your beautiful face pop on this video, and I'm just like, oh, Lisa, like we've known each other since college. We know each other, right?
Yeah.
And there's a beauty to that. And there are a lot of women who don't get that. They don't
Yeah.
have that, and
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking.
Absolutely. So what is one of the ways that we can respond, to that need and I mean, I know that we see it rampantly throughout society, but particularly with young Catholic women, how can we respond in that way?
That's like our first pillar of given is receive the gift you are. First of all, we need to seek that healing. Given our first day, our first full day of the forum is all about that. Sister Miriam is going to be our keynote, and she's just a beautiful testimony as to where she, had to get to a point where she realized that she was a gift and that God loved her. But also learning that we're worth setting boundaries for,
Mhm.
we're worth, I'll never forget when, I love the term live fearlessly. Anyone who knows me knows I was going to be like hashtag live fearlessly. I always say that. But I remember one day it really struck me, and I said, why does the Bible say we're fearfully and wonderfully made if we're not supposed to fear? And so I dug into it and I looked into it, and it was basically the fear that they're talking about is you're fearfully made. You're made with the fear of God, like to be revered. And it struck me to the core when I read that. It was years ago, but it's the first time that I realized, wow, like I was made to be revered and respected, and I was disrespected, and I didn't stand up for myself because I didn't think I was worth it, in whatever way, right? Big or
Yeah.
small. And how many people. So it's really coming back to understanding, first of all, you're worth being respected. You're worth being treated with respect, learning how to set boundaries. Like there's so many pieces of this. But we do work with we actually had our orientation last night, and it was really great. This is my first experience of the forum as a new executive director. But Dr. Joshua Miller from the Inscape Center for Personal Vocation, we partner with him. And he was on there really talking about, what it means to have a personal vocation, and our vocation really truly being that, that connection with God and what he's calling us to. And the fact that he places these desires in our hearts, and the more that we learn to surrender, which is hard when you don't have that trust, when you've been hurt, but the more we make these acts of surrender, the more that we allow God to move in our hearts and our lives, and the more, I believe that we become open to really seeing that he loves us and that he's watching out for us. You begin to see it in the little things. I remember one time my husband and I were coming off of a really hard time, and we were really making steps to surrender and trust, and little things like, oh man, we were very poor at the time. It'd be really nice to have a pancake griddle. It'd be so great. And the next thing we see on a freebie site is a free pancake griddle that we got. It's like, God, he'll reach us where we're at that time. Yeah. I needed the free pancake griddle. He's not giving me free pancake griddles anymore. But for women, like in young women in ministry, I think it's really important to really, one, introduce them to this loving God and the fact that they're worth being respected and God wants that for them, but also this sense of, Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. That sense of he wants to take care of it. But if we're holding back, if we're holding the reins of that horse and we're not letting him take control, then we're headed to a tree. We're going to hit a tree if we don't let go of the reins. But if we let go of the reins, God can be like, oh, let's move you this way, So
that's it. Yeah. No, it's so true. I love the pancake griddle too, because I think it's like, we think of this distortion of identity, right? If we don't understand who we are and we don't understand who God is, I've spoken about this, that this distortion actually that's what clouds everything. And then nothing really has the meaning that's intended. So other things start to become more important, right? And then we don't see ourselves the way that God sees us. We don't see ourselves as the gift. So I love that it really begins with that receptivity, which is such the feminine genius, right? Is just being receptive, just being open. You are the gift.
Right.
It's not what you do. It's not who you know. It's not your title. It's not your car. It's not all these things that are starting to become really important in the 20s when you're and 30s, when you're trying to establish your life. Who, are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have all these things? We find our identity in all these things. No, it's you. It's the gift. You're the gift. So I love that. I love that. Pouring into women and seeing their value, the worth. They're able to be respected. They can trust God. They can surrender. It's so beautiful. All right. Number 2, let's talk about another challenge that you guys are facing with young women.
Yeah. So one of the things that we work with Given is the second pillar is realize the gifts you've been given. A lot of women, especially between the ages of 21 to 35, you have this desire to do something more, right? But not always knowing how to act on it. This call and a desire, especially when you have a relationship with God, right? And you have this relationship with God and you have this desire that starts to grow into your heart. That's God's way of starting to plant that seed of, this is where I'm drawing you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The more that we lean into him, if that desire is from him, the more we lean into him, the stronger that desire will grow. And so we work with women who come through the program, through the Art of Becoming Mentoring program, to help them. Because if you're going to be a leader, right, the whole thing is this is all about leadership. If you're going to be a leader, it means you're going to use your gifts at the service of others, right? A leader serves others. And so it was like, how can I serve others? Well, we help young women create what's called an action plan. And you don't have to come through Given to create an action plan. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Anyone can create an action plan. But it's like, how can I use my gifts and use them at the service of the church and of God? Like, Lord, how can I use my gifts to make a difference, to share myself with others in a way that you're calling me to? And so an action plan is being able to sit there and think through, I feel like God is calling me to do something, and maybe it's a Bible study. Okay. let's write that down. Like, what is that Bible study going to look like? And it's walking through, what are the steps I need to do? Am I going to do an Endow Bible study? Well, then I need to reach out to Endow. I need to look through. I need to find out which one. I need to talk to the church if I want to do it at the church, right? There's all these steps. You know what your plan is. This is what I'm going to do. Now, how do I get there, right?
Yeah.
But having that plan and being ready to take action on it is just, it's a huge step, because so many people get ideas,
yes,
but don't actually formulate and act on it. And that really connects with, like, I know the next item we're going to talk about, they're both very interconnected. So I would love to just kind of dive into that, and we can just kind of share them both. But the third problem that we're seeing with a lot of women is that we feel alone. You're 21 years old. And this is why the CMSWR did what they did to create the forum for women. At the time, it was for women between the ages of 21 to 30. And then over the years, they're like, okay, we see we're extending it a little bit here. But is because women, there's help for women when they're in teenage years. You got Life Teen. There's help for women when they're in college. You've got Focus and other programs like that. But what happens when you graduate, right? Or even if you don't go to college, what happens when you graduate high school, right? And then you're kicked out into the world. It's like, okay, good job. You're educated. Say la vie.
Bye-bye.
Good luck. See you later. And the thing is this, I don't know, almost everyone I talk to tell about giving, if they're my age, and I'm not going to say my age, but I'm not between the ages of 21 and 35. And they basically say, where was this? You know, I'll say the same thing. You know, where was this? Yeah. It was because of a certain level of mentorship that I was able to start changing my life at the age of, I was 35 when I started going through some transformation. But there's so many, we're stepping out into the world, whether it's in the professional world, and we want to be the best version of ourselves. But there's so many things we've not yet been taught. And so what we do at Given is we connect the young women with a mentor who will walk alongside her. And this is where they'll help think through all those details of the action plan. All right, so like, look, what do we need to do? Like, let's take a step, and how can we make this happen? But to have someone walk alongside you and be able to help you. And really, honestly, if you find yourself in this place, right, where you're like, you know what, I'm even if you're not between the ages of 21 to 35, you can be like my age. But if you find yourself in this place where you think, you know, I really would love a mentor, then seek out a mentor. Find someone who is where you really want to be. They're further ahead. And they can basically, if they're willing to work with you, extend their hand and say, let me show you the way. How many mistakes we can kind of avoid if someone's like, oh, I wouldn't do that, and here's why. I already did that once before. You don't really want to mix the baking soda and vinegar in a little small cup. I have a bad.
I mean, I'm going to tell you not to do it. You might be on your own and still decide to do it, but at least I'm going to have told you, you know. It's
right. But women need community, and it kind of goes along with the action plans and the whole, we need community. We need to be able to share with others, and we also need to be able to share our gifts. That's the spiritual maternity, right? Your action plan is how you're going to go about using your spiritual maternity. And honestly, you can be a stay-at-home mom, and your action plan could be, I need to create a rule of life for my house because I've got all these little kids. I was never shown how to give them order, and everything's a mess, and I need help. And so then you find a mom who's been there before you and can help guide you in how to bring order to your home. And that can be your action plan, right? Or it can be, I'm on social media on a regular basis, and I see all these women who always seem like they're comparing, but probably underneath there's a struggle. Then maybe your action plan is, when you're on social media, to make a point, to make a positive comment, to send a message. By the way, I just thought you looked really beautiful today. Just, you know, or you inspire me in A, B, and C, because there's a lot of that that's needed, right? But it's how can I shine the light of Christ to others today? Because in the end, and this is where I measure a lot of things in life. When I die and I'm standing before Jesus, who's behind me? Because they saw him through me, right? And you may talk to one person God may just put it on your heart to share your heart with one person that then goes out and shares it with 1,000.
Yep.
That is still, those people are behind you because your light shone brightly. His light shone brightly through you. And it is all about that. Like, how can we allow him to shine through? And I did want to go back real quick, back to the whole identity, and all of this has to do with taking actions. I think sometimes we can get into this. I've actually, a lot of women, I actually struggled with this at one point in my life where I wanted to surrender to God. But if I surrendered, it means I'm saying, your will be done, which means I'm saying, Lord, if you desire to take my child, I give you permission to take my child. God, if you desire to take away everything I own, I give you permission to take away everything I own.
Yeah.
And it struck me one day, and that, when we say the Our Father, and I would say the Our Father all the time, like, thy will be done, like kingdom come, and and we're not. But what I realized is what comes after, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. In heaven, everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Everything's beautiful. So really it's that prayer, Lord, I surrender to your will because his will is perfect.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's us that get in the way of that.
Yes.
So whether we're building out an action plan, a way that we can affect others, or working on really understanding identity in God, that surrender is extremely important, because it's us saying, Lord, dude, I know I keep trying. It's like a little kid saying, mommy, I do it. And mom's like,
no.
It's like, I know you want to pour the milk, but we all know what's going to happen here.
Right. Yeah, there's got to be a little bit of guidance throughout this process, right?
Right, but if we just sit back and let God pour the milk, come on, we're going to get a great bowl of cereal with the perfect amount of milk. I'm not going to smell like sour milk all day.
No, it's going to be my favorite cereal. It's not going to bother my stomach or, anything like that.
No, right.
Yeah. I think these are all so valid points. Michelle, I think that this is so much of the young adult. I've experienced it myself. I remember, I don't know what your experience was coming out of Steubenville. I was terrified. I mean, I was terrified. I had blown out my knee playing ultimate frisbee. Were you playing that semester? I don't know.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. I hurt my pinky. Like, I was like this with my pinky one day.
Is that supposed to do that?
Ultimate frisbee. I know.
Yeah, exactly.
It probably was the same year.
Yeah, exactly. Spring of '99, stuff. I'll just say, okay, you could do the math if you want. You could do the math, people. But
dude, you're not supposed to be revealing that.
But what happened was I, blew out my knee. I went home, graduated the whole thing, hobbled along for a bit, had gone to the hospital. They were just like, x-rays, like, okay. I'm like, why is it the size of a tree trunk? Okay. So went home. And then in that time, it was just like, I was coming from the hilltop, right? It was coming from like, just like this amazingly supportive environment with just being so known and loved and seen and supported and having sisterhood and community. And it's just like oozing everywhere, and stuff, to then going home. And I don't know what I want to really do with my life. I don't know really what job. I have a mental health degree, but I didn't feel called to go get a master's. And what can I do? I studied theology, all these things. And it was just really terrifying. And, thankfully I had my mom was perceptive enough to kind of see she's kind of frozen here, and stuff, and kind of was having some conversations, with other people like, hey, can you help her out here? Because I was just going through physical therapy and kind of riding that horse. But anyways, the main point being that if we don't have people in our lives that are really speaking into the truth, because we can have moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, we all have them, right, that are saying things to us. But are they really speaking truth? Are they really speaking life? Do they understand their belovedness? Do they know how to pour
Right.
into you? Are they devoting that time, or is, they're so busy working or doing all these other things in their life that they may not have that time to truly focus on you, by no
Right.
fault of their own. It's just like where they are in life.
Right.
So to have people that are just devoted to say, I'm going to show up for you. I know that you're worth it. I want to be here during this time in your life. I'm going to pour out into you from that, where you're saying that spiritual maternity, that spiritual motherhood,
Right.
which is just to be a nurturer, to just provide guidance, love, wisdom, prayer, formation. I mean, that's how we start to really change the world, right? Because
Right.
we could
Because you
just sit back and just say, oh, the youth of today, it's
right.
crazy.
And then we give these women an opportunity to be seen. Like for me, my biggest time where I felt unseen was in my late 20s when I had all these kids, and I was the one who didn't really know how to put a lot of order into my home. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like I remember thinking like I just felt so lost, and everything was happening at once, and you have baby after baby, and you're just like, okay, Lord, I'm lost. But when someone does take the time to see to pour into you, you feel seen. You
Yeah.
feel seen. It's about being seen, known, and loved. And the great thing is that I think that while young women have this desire to be seen, known, and loved, as do older women. I'm not saying I'm in that category. However, um, of being older, No, but
Got it.
but even as even an older woman, we have the desire to be seen, known, and loved. But also we have this need, this desire that God has given us with that spiritual maternity to be generous, right? The generosity and maternity, and to share those gifts with others. And it's interesting, you see, when I hear feedback from the mentors that come to the forum, as well as the religious sisters, and the religious sisters having the opportunity to work alongside lay women, just the beautiful stories and transformation that takes place. It's needed. And the church today, when we start as women opening our hearts up to the calling that God has given us, and opening our hearts up to say, Jesus, how are you asking me to use these gifts that you have given me? I will guarantee you, He's given you gifts to use at the service of others. What that looks like, it might be that God's calling you to a time where right now your gifts are being used at the service of your children or at your family. For sure, God is calling us to use our gifts at the service of others.
Oh, I always love talking to you. Where can we find Given? Where do you guys exist so that we can make sure to get this in the hands of young ladies in
Yes.
this age group so that they can become a part of this? Or maybe there's even mentors, right? I mean, do you guys
Yes,
sign up mentors as well? Yeah.
we do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
women between the ages of 21 to 35 can apply for our biannual Art of Accompaniment mentoring program, which right now that's closed. The next one will open up in the fall of 2025.
Okay.
Um, and mentors, we're always looking for mentors ages 36 and above. And the same thing, like, well, in the fall of 2025, you should apply. Um,
Yeah.
but we'll be opening up for mentors. And so you can find out more about Given at giveninstitute.com. Follow us on Instagram at Given Institute and on Facebook. But we're always sharing, and we will be sharing. You follow the forum. We're going to be sharing the videos. You can look on our YouTube channel, look up Given Institute. But we share all of the videos that we have from the forum. You'll be able to listen to top Catholic female leaders sharing their hearts, and sharing about receiving the gift you are, realizing the gifts you've been given, and responding with the gift only you can give. So stay tuned. We'll have a ton of new videos coming out at the end of June, beginning of July, as we get those completed from the forum, which will be taking place in June. But yes.
That is perfect. I love it. You guys do so much good work. I love how you pour that out through your content so that it inspires other women, and that, we can all take something away from it. We can all, if you're a man that's watching this, I know, young ladies, you might have daughters, whoever, or, if you're a priest or whatnot, this in your parish, it's just kind of getting these resources to the people that need them. So thank you so much for using your gifts at the service of Given, and at the service of your family, and the service of so many through your life. Michelle, you've been a blessing to Little with Great Love. You've been a blessing of a friend for many years, to me. And I know that you blessed many people with your gifts. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate everything you do as well.
Thanks, sweetheart. Well, we will continue our series. Stay tuned for more on this Rebuild My Church. And thanks again for being with us today. So God bless you.